If you've got 2 solid weeks, that's enough time to see massive improvement on the LSAT. I've worked with students who've raised their scores by 5, 10, even 15 points in just 14 days. It's doable, and today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to make those 2 weeks count. The method I'm going to share with you cuts out the fluff and teaches you how to focus on what truly matters so you can walk into the LSAT with confidence. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I've personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, over the 20 years I've been teaching the LSAT, I've noticed a pattern. People put off serious studying because they think they need 4, 5, even 6 months. Then they hit the 2-week mark, realize time is running out, and panic. But what if I told you that panic isn't necessary, that 2 weeks is actually a perfect window to hone in on the essential skills and strategies that lead to real score gains? Today, I'm going to cover 4 major areas: how to identify and prioritize the most critical concepts on the LSAT, how to structure your study schedule for maximum impact, how to build and maintain your confidence and momentum every single day, and how to ensure you're ready for test day, both mentally and physically. Before we dive in, let's tackle a myth that studying everything is the key to success. Sure, you need a broad understanding, but the LSAT is actually designed to reward strategic thinking, not rote memorization. So if you spend weeks on low-frequency question types, or if you attempt every question in existence without understanding why you're missing certain ones, you'll quickly get overwhelmed. That's why the best approach, especially in these last 2 weeks, is to identify the high-yield areas and master them. Let's talk about the major question types in logical reasoning. Flaw questions, for example, are a staple. You've got to understand how arguments fail by mixing up cause and effect, making unwarranted assumptions, or overgeneralizing. Then there are the so-called assumption questions, but you've got to distinguish between necessary assumptions and sufficient assumptions. Of course, you want to use the negation test for necessary assumptions. This is a powerful way to confirm if an answer truly holds the argument together. However, this strategy will not work on sufficient assumption questions, so don't use it there. Now you've got strengthen and weaken questions, which you want to master to see how evidence can be added or taken away to impact the conclusion. These appear frequently and are pivotal to a strong logical reasoning performance. Now remember that efficiency beats exhaustion. Don't try to do 1,000 logical reasoning questions in a single day. Instead, do smaller focused sets like an individual section or 2 while timing yourself, and review your mistakes thoroughly. You also want to track your patterns. Are you consistently misreading tricky language? Are certain question stems always throwing you off? Zero in on those patterns and master them. In reading comprehension, you want to strategize rather than skimming. You want to get practiced and proficient at finding the main point fast. Every passage has a core argument or narrative. You want to spot the thesis in the first or second paragraph if it appears there, note the author's attitude, and keep track of how the ideas connect. You also want to make a quick mental map of the passage. Paragraph 1 might introduce a debate. Paragraph 2 might give evidence or a counter-argument, and so on. You also want to engage in active reading techniques. If you're highlighting or underlining, do so with intention. Don't just mark everything. Instead, only note key shifts, the author's tone, and any strong claims being made. You can also predict the questions based on how the passage unfolds. After you finish reading, think to yourself, for example, they might ask me about the author's opinion in paragraph 2, or they might quiz me on the contrast in paragraph 3. For individual passages, you want to be around the 9-10 minute mark depending on the difficulty level of the passage, but consider, of course, that some passages are going to be harder than others, so keep that in mind. I recommend instead timing yourself on full sections of reading comp rather than individual passages, and don't get overly stuck on the technical details. Focus instead on the broader structure of the passage. Now, if you focus on the core LSAT elements, the logical reasoning section's most common question types, and strategic reading for reading comprehension, you'll cover the vast majority of what truly matters on test day, and that's real efficiency where you'll see the biggest gains. Now, you also want to optimize your study schedule in these final weeks. You don't want to engage in studying randomly, just thinking to yourself, I guess I'll do a bunch of questions now. That leads to burnout fast, and it also leads to plateaus. You need a plan that tells you what to do, how long to do it, and why it matters. This is why at LSAT Unplugged, we create personalized day-by-day study plans for all of our students, and we match it with private one-on-one coaching sessions on a regular, consistent basis through your test date. If you'd like to find out more about working with my team on your journey to scoring a 170 plus, you can check out the links below to book a call. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, in these final 14 days, you want to focus primarily on full-length practice tests and detailed review of those tests. Maybe you're doing 2 or 3 timed exams per week, which is plenty to engage your progress without overwhelming you. And you don't want to do them on consecutive days. Instead, you want to schedule them every few days so that you have sufficient time to review. Now, your review shouldn't be cursory. It shouldn't be as simple as looking at the answer key and saying to yourself, oh, I get it now. How could I have been so dumb? And then moving on to the next. Instead, you want to engage in deep review using a strategy like the Socratic review method, where you spend double the time reviewing each test as you did taking it. And when you discover a mistake, ask yourself, did I misread the question? Did I misunderstand a rule or concept? Did I run out of time and just guess? You want to identify what went wrong so you can fix it next time around when you're taking your next practice test. You can engage in a daily routine where you spend the morning, maybe 60, 90 minutes, focused on your toughest logical reasoning question type. You do a set of 10 timed questions, then review them in detail, noting mistakes. Then in the afternoon, you focus on reading comprehension. And in the evening, you do a quick review of any mistakes from the morning or the previous day's full test. You don't want to get overwhelmed. You don't want to try and do it all every single day. That is a recipe for burnout. And you also want to engage in a strategy like the Socratic review method, where you dig deep into what you're getting wrong and why, so that you can avoid making the same mistakes again. You want to think to yourself, where did my misunderstanding stem from? Was it in the stimulus or passage, the question stem, or the answer choices? If it was in the answer choices, was it a tempting wrong answer, or was it an unappealing right answer? What are the patterns in the mistakes that I'm making? What are the tricks and traps that I'm personally uniquely prone to falling for, so that I can avoid making the same mistake again? At LSAT Unplugged, we guide you through this process in our private one-on-one coaching sessions and our small group classes. If you'd like to find out more, check out the links below. Again, we'll be glad to help you out. You can book a call with me personally. Now, of course, on the LSAT, one of the biggest challenges is not just accuracy, but it's also the timing. The clock is a major factor, but you can't let it dictate your emotions. You want to set achievable, reasonable pacing goals. In logical reasoning, for example, it's really nice that the questions are presented in a general order of difficulty, meaning they get harder as the section goes on. You can use this knowledge to your advantage by aiming to complete the first 10 questions in roughly 10 to 12 minutes. This lets you build up a time bank that you can then apply to the tougher questions later in the section. You could flag a couple of difficult questions, skip them, and come back to them later. You don't want to let any one question eat up too much time. You don't want to get bogged down or stuck. Know that you can always move on and come back later, but you don't want to let a single stumbling block derail an entire section. And remember that a well-structured schedule, especially in these final weeks, is your secret weapon. Spread out your practice tests, drill your weak areas on a daily basis, and use the Socratic review method to eliminate your bad habits. This plan doesn't just boost your score, it also protects your energy and keeps you steadily improving throughout the final 2 weeks. Now, you want to build your confidence and momentum. Your mindset is huge here, because having perfect technique won't help if you're still panicking under pressure. Confidence allows you to focus on solutions instead of freaking out about time or difficulty. So let's talk about how to cultivate that confidence. Every single day, you want to engage in positive visualization. You spend just 5 minutes visualizing your LSAT success. See yourself sitting there at the test center or at home if you're taking it remotely. You're feeling calm, you're methodically handling each question, and you're finishing each section with time to spare. This sort of mental rehearsal can reduce your test day anxiety and prime you for focused performance. You also want to engage in positive self-talk. Instead of thinking to yourself, I'm terrible at logical reasoning, instead you say to yourself, I'm improving at logical reasoning every day. Whenever you catch yourself in a negative loop, pause and reframe. It may sound small, but it has a powerful effect on your stress levels. You also want to celebrate the small wins, celebrate any incremental gains. If you finally master a tough science passage, recognize that accomplishment. If you improve your logical reasoning section score by even just 2 points, note that as well. These small wins stack up and build your LSAT momentum. You also don't want to dwell on your mistakes because remember, everyone misses questions, hardly anybody's getting a perfect score, and the high scorers are the ones who can forget about question number 12 as soon as they move on to question number 13. Practice this daily. Make a mistake, note it, then let it go. Now, in these final few weeks, you want to make sure that you avoid burnout, engage in a balanced lifestyle. You're taking care of yourself with sleep, diet, exercise, and relaxation. For sleep, aim for at least 7 hours. A tired brain is going to struggle with logic and focus. For your nutrition, choose energy-sustaining foods and stay hydrated. Take short breaks throughout your studying. If you study for hours on end without pausing, your retention is going to drop. A quick walk or a lunch break can help revitalize you and rebuild your concentration. And don't try to cram 10 practice tests into only 2 weeks, into only 14 days. Ask yourself, will this actually help me improve, or does it risk exhausting me? Quality over quantity here. A lot of marathon study sessions, you're not actually learning anything. You're just feeding the stress. Remember that confidence comes from daily mental practice, celebrating small successes, and refusing to let one bad question or study session define your progress. If you combine these mindset hacks I've shared with you today with proper rest and breaks, you'll be able to maintain high energy for the entire 2 weeks leading up to test day. Now, you might be skeptical, but I've seen countless students follow these recommendations and improve 5, 10, even 15 points in just 2 weeks. Some started off in the low 140s and broke into the high 150s, if not the 160 mark. Others went from the 150s well into the 170s. The key is commitment. You have to truly focus on the strategies we've discussed here. High impact study, a well-structured schedule, and a confident, resilient mindset. If you follow that formula and double-digit gains in 14 days aren't just possible, they're likely. Now, if you'd like my help getting that score increase, getting into the 170s in just the next 2 weeks or beyond, my team and I would be glad to help you out. You can check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.